Practical film skills and planning and setup. So my name's Pete. I'm a camera operator and a filmmaker, and I'm just going to teach you a couple of things on your phone, getting set up um, for shooting something on your phone. So, putting together a brief, before you start working on the film, you should ask yourself the following questions. What is the project? What is the core objective? Who is the audience? What is the tone of voice? What are the key messages? Who are the contributors? What platform are we sharing this on? And how can we bring this key message into life? And all of that stuff informs how you film something as well. So you answer these questions, and they should always be informing the decisions you make when you film something. And that can just be really simple. It could be, I want the tone of voice to be fun, or have a lot of energy to it, or you want it to be sad feeling, or you want people to feel, empowered or whatever. It's like then you can kind of mirror that stuff when you're filming something, especially when you're getting like more behind the scenes kind of B-roll stuff. Um, so let's just go through some really simple tips on how to shoot something or how I would set up my phone. So preparing your phone. So if you go onto your phone, we've got two images here. We've got on the top an Android, iPhone, bottom an Android. Uh, what you want to set your phone to is 4K and 30 frames per second. So resolution and frame rate. This is uh, the 4K is just how big the screen is. So the resolution is just how big the screen is, or the images that you're recording, and the frames per second is how many pictures it takes in a second to create the illusion of movement. And all that being said, the best or what I find the best settings are 4K and 30 frames a second. Um, and that usually you can crop into 4K and it still looks good. You've some of your phones will do like 8K, 6K, but it's kind of just overkill. And then your phones will probably do 60 frames a second, but that I find can cause a bit of trouble, and it's also slightly overkill. I find that's more for like gaming or things like that. Um, so you want to, so I would set it to 4K. How you do that is you can go onto camera settings on your iPhone, go on settings, camera, and then record video, and then select 4K and 30 frames a second. What's easier to do is if you look at this image, the top image, the bottom right hand corner, it says 4K and 30. If you just tap those two numbers, it will just go through your options. So it might go to HD or FHD or UHD or whatever, but try and look for 4K, UHD, 30 frames a second. Um, and then another one is just clean your lens before you start shooting. I've done this with professional cameras and got my footage back and thought, oh dear. So just grab a soft bit of t-shirt, or if you've got a glasses cloth, whatever they are, just give it a quick clean. You can kind of see sometimes if you point into in quite like a light room, things to start to look like bloomy, like the light, especially like windows, will start to look like have a kind of bloom to them, and that is a good way of seeing that you're gonna need to clean your lens. But clean your lens every time if you can remember, and then decide if you're gonna go if you're gonna film in portrait or landscape. I would always, for the most part, shoot in landscape unless you are absolutely certain that this video is not going to be used at any point in landscape. The reason for that is just because you can always crop in and make it portrait after, whereas you can't do it the other way around. But if you just want to get something on, get something done quick, and it's just say you just uploading something straight onto Reels or TikTok or something, it's just always going to be in portrait. Whatever makes you do something quicker, I would say, just edge on the side of that. Make sure your phone is charged and has enough storage. Yeah. Also, like a power bank is good if you're filming because it can take up like quite a lot of battery. So carrying around a power bank is good. And then also with storage, I mean, yeah, try and make sure you've got enough. And then if you're doing a lot of takes of the same kind of thing, I would probably as well just kind of delete things that you know you're definitely not going to use because you're just taking up space. And if that's an issue on your phone, then yeah, I would do that. Okay, grid lines. So this is something you can set up on your phone as well. This is also in camera settings, just another uh, um, turn off and on thing. But then with all this stuff, just the best thing to do is just go onto YouTube, search the make and model of your phone, and then turn it on grid lines. Grid lines just help you to frame a shot better. So just to make it look more pleasing to the eye. In this image here, we've got so when you turn on grid lines, which I use on my phone as well, I use on my phone and I use on my professional cameras. It just splits the screen into thirds, both horizontally and vertically. On this one, we've just got them down on the vertical ones. But you can sort of see when you start to set something up on your phone, it's good to have someone on one of the sides, especially if they're talking off camera. If they are talking directly to the screen, it's good to have them right in the middle, and you can use the grid lines to make sure someone is central. You can also use the grid lines to see if something's level, and it's just a good guide to have and to get used to and start practicing with. Okay, autofocus, exposure, and zoom. Here's some here's an explanation of that and some tips. So autofocus or focus is just what is in focus. And when your phone is always doing automatic things constantly. And one of the things is focusing. So it's picking out faces usually. On here, it's say like it's probably going to pick out the dog or the Buddha and decide which one it thinks is the more important thing to focus on. And that is just what it will make sharp in the image, not blurred. And then exposure is just how light and dark something is. So in this one, let's say the automatic things that the phone will be doing is trying to decide what you want to have the correct amount of light on. And so with this image, because we're by a window, it might be that it decides to focus on the window and then the dog becomes too dark or whatever. Um, so a good tip for this is to use, and I use this autofocus and auto exposure lock. And how you do that is just select the thing on the screen. So that in this image on the left hand side, the dog's face. You just tap, hold onto it, and it will lock the focus, and the phone will stop doing all of its automatic things. And then you can press record, and once you press stop on record, you've recorded your video. Then it will just go back to doing its normal thing again. But it's a really useful tip, especially if you set something up like an interview and you don't want to have to think too much, um, or you want to concentrate on the interview, let's say, that you can just press your autofocus, auto exposure lock, and you know that the phone's not going to do anything that you don't want it to do. And then zoom. Uh, One thing I would say about zoom is that most of your phones, like my phone, has two lenses. You only really want to be switching between the two lenses when you're doing zooms. If you do your kind of digital zoom, you're just pinching in and stuff, then if it's not just selecting between the lenses, then all it's doing is it's just making the image bigger in the phone. So you're actually losing quality by doing it. And really, you could do that if you want to focus in on a bit of the image later. You may as well just shoot it at the highest quality possible, which is just between the lenses, and then you can zoom in on your in your little editing app or on whatever. Uh, yeah, and then so on the right hand side image, just to show you, we've got the Buddha in that we've auto locked on an Android. This is, and you can see that he's now got better contrast, looks sharper, and is full of life. Framing a background. Just a couple of tips to make your videos more pleasing to the eye. So avoid clutter or distracting backgrounds. So these two images that we have on the side here are both images that I shot. There's the background is and the top one is, I would say it's a little bit cluttered, but it's not really distracting. It's just in a house, like we're just in her kitchen. And she's quite far away from it as well, so we get this nice depth of field. So there's a nice separation between her and her background. Um, and then I would just say with that, it's like you can have atmospheric backgrounds that are cluttered, but then it's always going back to your what it's always going back to the thing that you think at the start. It's like what atmosphere am I trying to create here? Is it relevant? Is it someone just walking around mopping while I'm filming an interview, then that is going to be distracting and not add to the video. Pick a relevant location. If talking about playgrounds, film near one for context. So yeah, so this image below this was an interview I shot in Albania with a guy who was picking up rubbish for a living. So we shot him in front of uh, his work basically. And it's distracting in a way, but it's relevant and it paints a picture within the frame. And if you can do that, it's like it just helps, makes the video a bit more engaging, makes it look a bit more interesting. Like you don't want someone sat against the wall. You kind of want the videos to look nice. And if you can get a relevant background, then great. Avoid using digital zoom. We've gone through that. Can reduce quality. Simply move closer or further away from the subject. So yeah, so that is a good tip. If you want to zoom in on someone, it's better to move towards someone. And also your microphone's on the back of your camera, so you'll get better sound. Um, so frame the subject slightly off center for more dynamic shots. So you can see that in these two shots, they've both framed off center and they're talking or looking, if you see, into the space on the other side of the frame. And the way you do that really is just they're talking to me, like I'm holding the phone or the camera, and you just hold your phone just goes to the right of you slightly. And it's just more pleasing to the eye. If you do it the other way around, if the space is if they're looking into the or away from the space, it just for some reason doesn't look very nice or doesn't feel very nice. Um, and then you can use your grid lines for that, obviously. And the top horizontal, sorry, the top horizontal grid line is about where the eyes are usually, kind of. I mean, just like experiment a little bit, but you'll sort of see that's the kind of nicer place for them to be. And then, yeah, leave some negative space and frame like we have. If filming handheld, keep your elbows close to your body and to reduce shake. So yeah, like it's your phone is better to be close to you because then it reduces the shake that's happening with your. So you can just kind of tuck yourself in and do that if you don't have a little holder or tripod. Lighting and audio. So use natural light whenever possible, and that's you want reflective light, and natural light is like sunlight, can be like lights in a room or whatever, but we mean like non-professional lights, obviously. But sunlight, reflective sunlight is always the most flattering and the best kind of light. If indoors, position light sources to illuminate the subject's face. So if you've got lamps around or stuff, you can just move things around and have a look. Like you've always got your phone, you're always going to see what it's going to look like on your phone. Um, and if you look at these two images here, there are no lights on in those rooms. Just one person is positioned in a bad place, and the other person we've just moved away into another space, But it's still lit by sunlight that's coming through these windows. It's just that we've positioned the person so they're in a nicer place. Instead of being on the back of someone, the sun here, and be like very poorly exposed. We've moved her so the sun is coming on the sort of side of her face, and we're getting nice separation from the background and a kind of like flattering soft light within the room. Have you avoid using your phone light? So yeah, that just always looks a bit kind of horror movie to me. So I just would not use that. If you can use an external microphone, these are cheap and make a huge difference. Yeah, so they're pretty cheap to get now. You can have these like big clip ones. There are ones that are just sit on the back of your camera as well. And there are also um there are some other types that I can't remember at the moment, but yeah, so uh they just take away the worry. That's the thing. Which is good because sound is very important in a video, and if you've got bad sound, I've shot things where you get home and you're like, oh God, the sound was awful. There was a bus or a load of wind or something like that. So it's good to just like test the audio before you go on with the interview. So usually what I would do is get them to say a few things, then have a listen on some headphones. Be like, okay, it's not too echoey, the road's not too loud or whatever, and then you can go on with the interview. Final thought. and practice tips. Do a quick test run on your phone. Focus on key shots that tell your story. Maximize natural light. Use a microphone for clearer sound. Be ready with a phone charger and extra gear. So yeah, I think it's always really good to just you're going to get better with practice. That's it. So if it's something, if it isn't an interview and it's something you can just, you can just practice shooting this thing. So it's like a, you know, you're getting someone to walk through somewhere or something for a bit of B-roll. Just practice, and just see what looks good. Watch it back. See, oh, okay, I could maybe come in a bit closer. I could come further out. Maybe it's a bit boring. I can be a bit more movement, or maybe I'm doing too much and I just need to simplify. And yeah, hopefully these tips help you.